There are three primary theories on the identity of the two witnesses in Revelation. Number 1, Moses and Elijah. Because John makes specific references to the miracle that the witnesses would accomplish, many people believe that Moses and Elijah could be the two witnesses. Moses witnessed more miracles than Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob combined, with several miracles occurring one after another as God interceded on behalf of his people. The witnesses will have the power to convert water into blood, replicating one of Moses' most famous miracles. Exodus 7:20-21, Amplified Bible. So Moses and Aaron did as the Lord commanded. Aaron lifted up the staff and struck the waters in the Nile in the sight of Pharaoh and in the sight of his servants. And all the water that was in the Nile was turned into blood. The fish in the Nile died, and the river became foul-smelling, and the Egyptians could not drink its water, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. And the witnesses will have the power to destroy their enemies with fire, which corresponds to an event in Elijah and Moses' life. Fire also came forth from the Lord and consumed the 250 men who were offering the incense. Also giving strength to this view is that Moses and Elijah both appeared with Jesus at the Transfiguration. Matthew 17:3-4, Amplified Bible. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with Jesus. Then Peter began to speak and said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good and delightful and auspicious that we are here. If you wish, I will put up 3 sacred tents here. One for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." Revelations 11:5, Amplified Bible. And if anyone wants to harm them, fire comes out of their mouth and devours their enemies. So if anyone wants to harm them, he must be killed in this way. Some believe Elijah is one of the witnesses because his ministry appears similar to these two witnesses. James 5:17-18, Amplified Bible. Elijah was a man with a nature like ours, with the same physical, mental, and spiritual limitations and shortcomings. And he prayed intensely for it not to rain. And it did not rain on the earth for 3 years and 6 months. Then he prayed again, and the sky gave rain, and the land produced its crops, as usual. In addition, Jewish tradition anticipates the return of Moses and Elijah. This is based on the prediction of Elijah's coming in Malachi 4:5, as well as God's promise to raise a prophet like Moses, which some Jews think requires Moses' return. Deuteronomy 18:15, Amplified Bible. The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me, Moses, from among you. From your countrymen, brothers and brethren, you shall listen to him. Deuteronomy 18:18, Amplified Bible. I will raise up a prophet from among their countrymen like you, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command him. Malachi 4:5, Amplified Bible. Behold, I am going to send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and terrible day of the Lord. Number 2. Enoch and Elijah. Because of the extraordinary events surrounding each of their deaths, Enoch and Elijah are often considered potential candidates for the roles of the two witnesses. From what we understand, God has only ever brought 2 people directly to heaven without their first having to go through the process of dying. Genesis 5:23. So all the days of Enoch were 365 years. 2 Kings 2:11. As they continued along and talked, behold, a chariot of fire with horses of fire appeared suddenly and separated the 2 of them, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. The passage in Hebrews 9:27, which states that it is destined for all men to die once, is cited by supporters of this perspective. It would appear that the fact that Enoch and Elijah have not been put to death qualifies them for the role of the 2 witnesses, who will both be put to death once they have completed their respective tasks. Since neither Enoch or Elijah died a natural death, but were instead carried to heaven, and Hebrews 9:27 states, that it is appointed for men to die once. Some people believe that the two witnesses must be Enoch and Elijah. They reason that since it is set for men to die once, Enoch and Elijah must return to earth to die there. This interpretation of Hebrews 9:27 is incorrect, since the verse outlines a principle rather than an absolute and unchangeable law. For example, Lazarus and others were raised from the dead and apparently died twice. Yet this does not disprove Hebrews 9:27. At the time of the rapture, the entire church on earth will not die, but will be carried to heaven. Hebrews 9:27 is a principle, and there are a few notable exceptions that ultimately serve to prove rather than deny the rule. There may be good reasons to regard Enoch and Elijah as the two witnesses, but the principle of Hebrews 9:27 is not one of them. In addition, both Enoch and Elijah were prophets who pronounced God's judgment. 1 Kings 17:1. Now Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the settlers of the Gilead, said to Ahab, "As the Lord, the God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there shall be neither dew nor rain these years, except by my word." Jude 1:14. It was about these people that Enoch, in the seventh generation from Adam, prophesied when he said, "Look, the Lord came with myriads of his holy ones." Number 3. Because of the absence of detail in Revelation 11, two individuals who have not been identified are considered candidates for the roles of the two witnesses. Scripture does not provide a name list for the two witnesses, and no famous person is mentioned in connection with their appearance. It is entirely within God's ability to take two believers considered ordinary and empower them to accomplish the same signs and wonders as Moses and Elijah did. There is nothing in Revelation 11 that compels us to assume a famous identity for the two witnesses. There is an intriguing chapter located in Zechariah 4 that provides us with a model for the two witnesses that are mentioned in Revelation. In a vision that Zechariah gets, he sees a lampstand made entirely of solid gold. A bowl of olive oil sits atop this structure, and an olive tree can be found on either side. The olive oil drips down from the trees into the bowl and maintains a steady supply. Thus, the lampstand never needs to be tended to by a person to keep its light burning. The message that God gave to Zechariah was that the job that God wanted to do, rebuilding the temple, would be completed, nor by might, but by my Spirit. In other words, God's power to sustain his work flows through two people who have been designated for the task. So who are the two Revelation witnesses? The Bible is silent on the subject. All three of the interpretations are valid and plausible for Christians, and Christians should not be dogmatic about the identity of the two witnesses. We don't know who these two witnesses are, and all attempts to identify them are pure conjecture. We must wait and see who they are. But it does not matter. What they do and what is done to them are important things.